You're listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers. Presented by CMH Heli-Skiing and Fat Tire Amber Ale.
People don't want to see me.
Well, sure they do.
Do you know how many emails I got at the beginning of like this podcast are like, quit talking so much. I want to hear what your guest has to say. Like, I'm not listening for you, man. You want to pull that just a touch closer?
I think it's great because it makes it more
perfect.
Conversational.
Yeah, I agree. And then watch out with this. It's very noisy. Yeah, it's very noisy.
Sorry.
I
can take it off.
Sure. If you don't care.
No,
yeah, the Solomon shirt.
Solomon.
Why not, man?
Yeah, it's warm enough.
All right, so let's get right into the podcast. How much are you making with Solomon?
A bunch of money.
I don't need to start it there, although I can. Whatever. Let's cheers, man. Here's a beer.
Thank you.
A little Fat Tire for you. And the Canucks opener. Terrible Canucks.
Yeah, at least they're a hockey team. That's about all they are.
At least they're a hockey team. Yeah. All right, man. Stan Ray, welcome back to the LPP Studios.
Happy to be back.
Yeah, man.
It's been a while.
I just finished my quarantine, so I'm clean as. You just don't do anything but hang out with your girlfriend, your wife.
I got a COVID test a while back, and it was negative, so that's good.
All right. Well, I'm happy with that.
Oh.
Cheers, bud. It's nice to have someone here.
Yeah, we're 6 feet apart anyway. So
yeah, actually, yeah, absolutely. And then the microphones will just absorb all of our COVID. Let's make sure we'll rinse it out after.
Yeah, leave it here. It's fine.
Yeah, I heard somewhere that it's like, actually, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't.
I'm fine not talking about it. Yeah, keep it off our minds.
All right, thanks for tuning in to episode 181.
181?
Yeah, man, 181. I don't remember which one you were. You were like in the 20s, I think. You were the first season. You came over with Kels and
twice that first season.
Philly. No, you were in the second season, I think, too.
First and second, yeah.
It's been a while. It's been like 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
I should have listened to the first one beforehand. So
a lot has happened in 6 years. I should have listened to it too, so I don't repeat myself.
I like that though. The first time I did that, I had Macintosh on as the first one ever, and then he was on at 100.
Sick.
And I was about a 5-year gap, and listening to both conversations was really fascinating because he as a person changed so much, and it's neat to kind of hear his like perspectives on things. Like your life's changed quite a bit in the last 6 years.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of it changed quite a bit.
Because like the first time you were on, you were like just getting ready to go to Japan for the first time, and you were like really just starting out your career with Solomon.
Yeah.
And now you're Backy Sunday Stan.
And very sore.
You were complaining about that yesterday. So let's talk about that. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling my age and then some. It's crazy how much things change from 24, which would have been the year I was on, or 25. I would have been 25, maybe 26.
Are you only 30 now?
No, I'm 33.
Oh,
maybe I was 26. And I felt like I could send anything and huck everything, not really get hurt.
You did.
Yeah, and I would be like, I would be a little sore, and then like 2 days later I'd be fine. Now it's like,
how old are you now? 33?
I land things properly, and I'm sore for 2 weeks.
Yeah, the whiplash, man.
It's actually not even 2 weeks. I would say it's the year round. Now my shoulders and neck are like super sore year round, and I also have bad posture, which probably doesn't help. But
the beard is weighing you down.
Yeah, it's a heavy beard. The head. Yeah, I'm feeling sore, feeling my age, feeling like it's time to start mellowing out, but at the same time, my mentality doesn't let me do that.
Yeah, right.
Because I get out there and I'm like, I'm going to go send this, and trying to keep up with the young kids, which these days it's really not easy trying to keep up with the young kids.
It's because they're rubber.
They're rubber, they're very good, and then I try to be as good as them when I'm not. Well, it hurts a lot.
It's kind of funny because there's that, like, I'm sure they're like, oh shit, I'm skiing with Stan Ray and Alexi, so they're like, all right, I'm gonna go and send this huge because look at who I'm riding with right now. They got to prove themselves. And then you're like, crap.
Oh man, he's sending the flats too. It's funny. I was just on a trip to Sentry with Alexi, Rubens, and Jordy, and Rubens pulled me over and he's like, you you don't have to send like everything to flat. Like you're 32 years old. You have like people love your personality, and you're a good enough skier. You can just do like mellower stuff, and you can ride your career for quite a long time like this. And I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, what? No, I'm taking it easy. Why would I take it easy?
Did you ask him? Be like, hey, next time you, Rubens, and Adma do an old guys trip, can I come along? he's probably gonna be like, no, sorry, spot's taken.
Well, and then I think it was Jordy. He's like, every time we roll up to a spot, you look for either the biggest line or just like the one that will look the best, and you don't even care if it's a flat landing, uphill landing. You're just gonna hit it because it's like the prominent line, and no one else is gonna hit it, but you will because you're.
That's what you know.
I'm gonna call myself dumb. and then Rubens was like, yeah, you can even you can still ski sick lines. Just look for ones with good landings.
Right. You might have to retire the Backy Sunday.
Yeah. And then the next day, you know what? The next day I was like, I'm going to take what Rubens told me. And I actually looked for steeper landings, and it was incredible how much better I felt.
Oh my God. So maybe
actually finding trannies instead of just like, oh yeah, that looks good. 30 footer to flat.
So maybe dumb wasn't a bad assessment, because you just have to look and think and be like, oh, is he like, you're a great skier, man. Like, you don't have to keep doing that.
Yeah. I'm too competitive to not try.
Competitive with yourself?
With myself and with everyone else. Like every time we go on a trip, I want to be the best. Am I going to be the best? Maybe, maybe not. Depends who you're skiing with.
Were you that kid in school that was like, look at me, watch me do this?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
a little bit. I was also a tiny little kid at school.
So you had to prove yourself?
I had to try and prove myself. And I think I just let sports do it. I love biking. I love playing soccer. Love skiing. And all I wanted to do was sports. I didn't really care too much about school. Should have paid a little more attention, maybe.
Oh, whatever, man.
I graduated.
You got yourself a career in skiing, in sports.
Yeah, and I also went to school to be a carpenter too, which I'm using a little bit.
Did you have your ticket? Yeah, you did work here.
Yeah, I did my ticket. Yeah, for sure.
Didn't you built those shitty stairs in the back?
I didn't. Philly did. I came by and got all the posts because I built a deck in my parents' house.
Oh yeah.
And I came by and reused all like half the wood for the railings.
I don't know. It's probably, I'm just gonna claim this on the construction company, but they built this thing with no support or anything like that, and I had a couple of people come over and be like, who built these stairs? And I was like, oh, I don't know, this company's like, oh man, so I told the landlords to come check it out, and they actually came in and installed a big metal reinforcement piece,
way.
so the wooden stairs with the hundreds of pounds of glass and metal on them don't fall over.
Yeah, maybe I should. You should call Philly about that.
No, it's all good. He's probably just following plans, man.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong.
Right, exactly. You don't blame the builder. You blame the guy who tells the build. You blame the guy who pays the build. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Carpenter.
The contractor.
Yeah, the contractor. Right.
Yeah.
He's just gonna hire a bunch of lazy ski bums, anyways.
Exactly. At the end of the day, the contractor is responsible.
Right. So you haven't been doing much of that lately?
I've been doing a little bit. Just more for friends.
You were building the deck of your parents' house or something?
Built the deck of my parents' house 3 years ago.
Cool.
3 years ago, I built Philly's place and his dad's place.
Oh, up in
That would have been 5 and 4 years ago, and then built the deck. And then I built Ryan Regier's deck. Been doing decks and little renos and garages.
Stan's decks.
I work a month of summer.
Yeah, right.
Maybe a month and a half.
You don't really need to.
Yeah, I don't need to.
You're one of those.
I still could though.
Yeah.
It would be nice to. I just
don't want to.
My theory is, I don't have to, but I could make an extra $10 grand a summer, working, busting my ass off, which is great and all. But at the same time, it's I can go biking, I can go golfing, go to the lake, and it's you might as well enjoy life while you're young and work when you're older. That's right. That's my theory. Because why not have fun while you can and while your body is able to? Because when I'm 50, I'm going to be so sore. I'm not going to want to go biking. I'm not going to want to go. Well, maybe I will. I hope I will, but I don't know if I'll be able to do what I enjoy doing at the level I'm doing it right now. And it's so fun being at like a somewhat of a high level biking. And
Because you're always looking for flat landings on your bike
no,
too.
bikes are good. I'm not looking for flat landings on my bike.
So you've reached that point in your career, like that very very few skiers actually get to achieve, is like you can have, that's your job.
Yeah.
I'm a pro skier. I don't have to work all summer, right? Like there's a number, like very limited number of people that can achieve that level.
For sure. And I think it's, once you actually achieve that, it actually becomes easier to actually focus more on skiing too, because now you're not having to work a job to ski all winter. And
yeah, right. Like you have that stress of like, okay, where's my next paycheck coming from, or how am I going to do this, how am I going to do this, and you can actually just focus on, what you're doing. And
I was gonna interrupt, but I probably shouldn't.
No, it's
anything.
too late now. Come on, bud. I can edit this out. I'm not gonna edit it out.
Yeah, I mean, your next paycheck, they fluctuate when they come. They do come, but they're supposed to come at a certain date, and usually they're sometimes a little bit late.
Yeah, man, that's the thing I've learned about with podcasting and like media and stuff like that. I was asking some people, I'm like, I'm waiting for the check. They're like, oh yeah, that happens.
Yeah, it'll come.
I learned from
2 months from the time we said it'll come. I'm like, oh. Okay.
I learned from Bruno Long. I was at his place when I did an interview with him, and we were in his little office, and he's got a big whiteboard, and it says invoices out and then paid or something along those lines. And I'm like, oh. So I made myself a nice little spreadsheet, and I put like when they're expected and when I have to follow up and say, hey,
oh, that's a good
can
idea.
you pay me, please?
See, I don't do that. I do take them and I put invoice and I put the date, the year, and I put it in there. But I never go and like put paid. So I know I have them, but I'm like, yeah, did I get that? And then I end up having to go through like my banking statements and looking, did I get that? No, I didn't. Yeah. And then I go back. And
which month was that in? But it's hard to find because it's on that desktop that you just saw. So my computer desktop has literally like 1,000.
1,000. Let's go with 1,000.
Oh, it's so cluttered, and it was bad. And then I ended up adding a second screen. And then every time I do a new episode, and I got new photos, and I got stuff for like to download for social media, and I got files to upload, I just kind of throw them on there, and then I don't make time to clean them up, and I'm like, oh great, now I have 2 desktops that are completely covered. And then when I unplug the second screen, that's what you saw. This is the first thing you said. You're like, oh my.
Organization of life. That was my biggest crux, I think. It still is.
Is that where
more organized, but I'm still like quite unorganized, and I'm the type of person who lets things build up. Like, oh man, I got this. Oh, I can do it later. I got this. And then it gets to a point where it's like, okay, now I really need to do some of these. You get like a list of like 15 things.
Yeah.
And I start taking them off, but it takes like a while. And I'm like, it actually kind of sucks because I get stressed. And then I'm like, you know what? And then I get stressed and I put it off even longer. And it gets to a point where I'm like, okay, and I got to sit down. I got to do all these things. And most of them are like, they're pretty quick. Sometimes they're emails. Sometimes they're like, whatever, a post, this, that. And it's like, yeah, it might take, some of these might take like 15 minutes. And some of them are longer. Some of them might take like an hour or 2. Or 3 or a day.
Right.
But I put them off for so long. And then finally I'm like, okay, I got to do these. And then I do them and I feel so good.
And you don't want to do them sometimes. You're like, I got so many things. I don't know which one to start. So I'm just going to watch Canucks game instead.
Yeah, exactly. I got so many things and you have like 4 things to do.
Yeah. Or
but that happens to me all the time.
Or I write it all down. I'm like, I'm going to do this stuff while I watch the Canucks game. And that doesn't happen either. Because then it's like, wow, what are you doing?
I did do what Bruno was doing, and I started it and then I didn't do it and I started it again. But the whiteboard thing, you write down your task, what you got to do.
Yeah, man.
And then you cross them off because it's actually like pretty gratifying to be able to cross that thing off. You're like, yes, I accomplished that. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, right. This is the little one. The big one's over there turned around because I don't want to give you all my secrets.
So whenever I get overwhelmed, that's what I do. I go to the whiteboard, I make that list, and I tick them off.
What's Kels like with getting you on track with that kind of stuff?
Oh, Kels is pretty good. Kels said we were just talking about got married since the last time I was here.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah,
but
thanks. I wasn't going to bring that up.
We were talking about getting married and this and that, and she's like, "I'm not going to marry you until you file for your taxes." And I was like 6 months late filing my taxes, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And like literally right before the trip where I asked her to marry me, when we got engaged, I just finished filing for my
Did you like get down on one knee and then open up like your tax return, your like notice of assessment?
No, I sent it. I didn't get it back.
Oh.
I didn't even get it back. But
Can you imagine?
Sent it and I had it finished.
To get went down on one knee and open an envelope, pass her an envelope, and she's like, "Is this your notice of assessment?" She'd be like, "What the hell?" And you're like, "Boom, here's a ring." How did you propose her? I know that you had someone set up a camera, or was it the GoPro? Yeah. Where
we drove down with my camper and my parents' camper with my truck, to Dyak's wedding, which was in Lake Tahoe.
Oh yeah.
Which was up at Kirkwood, which was super fun. And then on the way back up, we biked and surfed our way back up. Mainly surfed because biking, we didn't really know where to bike. And I wanted to do it in the water, and then I was like,
dropped the ring.
I'm like, I'm gonna drop the ring, and then I'm gonna hit myself. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it in the water. So I changed plan, and then we just it was called Trinidad, in California.
Is that
or Oregon?
Was that the break, or just the park?
The town. It's called that's a town.
Cool.
And there's a little back road that's actually like a single road, pretty roaded, but we stopped up there for dinner, and it was like a beautiful sunset, and I'm like we gotta do it now. And I had
were you carrying around like the ring in one pocket and the GoPro in the other pocket just in case?
I was. Well, I hid it in the camper so she wouldn't see it, and then I also hid we had a warm bottle of champagne because I didn't want to put it in the fridge because she would see it. So I hid it. It was warm, whatever. And the burgers, I was cooking burgers and they burnt because I had GoPro, and it was pretty funny. I got down on one knee and it was getting like pretty dark. And she didn't see that because I didn't actually have the box. I just had the ring right in my pocket. So I pulled out the ring. And she didn't see it at first. And I'm like, are you going to... Like, I was almost crying, first of all, asking her. And then I got down on one knee. And it's funny how nervous you get. I'd been with her for like 10 years. And I felt like I just met her. And I was so nervous. Got down one knee and she didn't see the ring. And she's like, you're kidding. Get up. Come on, get up. And like, then she didn't say anything for like 20 seconds. And she's like... wasn't 20 seconds, and I have the GoPro, and it was like probably 30 seconds where she doesn't say anything,
just standing there looking at you.
Yeah, looking at me like, what are you doing? And then she finally said yes, and it was pretty awesome, pretty surreal.
Did she ask you if you had your taxes complete?
No, she didn't. She didn't. That would have been very funny. Did you finish your taxes?
So no. Can you call me an Uber? Well, that's good. Yeah. You get married, man. And like, so if people are listening, Kelsey Surwa, she was on
Kelsey Ray, actually.
Kelsey Surwa, Stan Surwa's wife, has been on the show. So the first episode, it was a Stan and Kelsey and some buds, and then Kelsey won the silver medal. Was that 8 years ago? Oh, 7 years ago. No. 7. It would have been 7 years ago. So she just won the silver medal in the skier cross, women's skier cross.
Yeah.
And then 4 years later, 3 years ago, she won the gold medal in the women's skier cross.
And I went that time.
Yeah.
Didn't go to Sochi, and I was kind of kicking myself for it because she came second.
Mm-hmm. She told you not to go, though.
And then I told her I had a trip, and I had to film, and I couldn't go to Pyeongchang, and I literally was like texting with her parents, hey, I'm gonna come, blah blah blah. I ended up like organizing so I would stay with them, and the day that they left, I was like putting up videos as if like a story on Instagram as if I was sledding with Alexi and Scotty and Jordy, and then I even like called her. I'm like, hey, how's it going? When we were at the airport with her parents, like, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh, pretty good. And I'm like, oh, my parents are just leaving. And I'm like, oh, no way, that's awesome. Say hi to me when they get there. She's like, anyways.
And you showed up. And she was
I got there, and I was still talking to her when I got there. And then the next day it was the men's race, and I knew she was gonna go watch the men's race because it was 2 days before the women's race, and she had no clue. And she walked into like the viewing area, and I was sitting right there. It was pretty funny.
Was she stoked, or was she like, oh god damn it?
No, she was stoked.
No, and I'm only saying that because of like, you know how crazy like athletes are, and
sure.
like they're and like
no, she was super stoked for sure.
Yeah.
She was super surprised. She had no clue, zero clue.
Do you think that helped her get to that medal, or did it matter?
I don't think it.
Because that's a mental thing, right? Like,
I mean, I don't think it mattered, and at the end of the day, I almost actually missed her race.
Of course you did.
So Brady won the men's race, and my best friend Kevin came fourth. No, he should have won. He was skiing great all day. But anyways, it didn't matter. So Brady won, and the next night, they didn't party that night because it's pretty hectic. You do media, you do this, and then by the end of the...
What happened?
You wake up
don't you like steal cars or something like that? Who was that?
No, but that was... Let's put that aside for now.
Yeah, we'll get back to that.
Night. That was... they wake up at 5, and they probably end up going to bed at like 12 after media and obligations they have.
Yeah.
So we ended up partying the next night. And Brady was sponsored by Lulu, and I also was sponsored by Lulu at the time. And
Lululemon. Stan was sponsored by Lululemon.
For least. I was a store ambassador.
Lululemon. And don't make fun of them for it because their pants are awesome.
I'm wearing them right now.
Yeah. Carry on.
Awesome. Anyways, so we were down in Pyeongchang, and they had a little thing at their Lulu store there, and then we went and had a couple cocktails.
After she won or after he won?
After he won.
Okay.
And this is the night before Kelce's race.
Yeah. And you're in their party.
And we're staying in Pyeongchang, and the race was at, I can't remember the mountain, but it's like 2-hour drive. So it's like staying in Vancouver, and you have to be a Whistler for 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we had to leave at like 6:30, hour and a half. We have a couple cocktails, and then we go back to the hotel, and it's like 12 o'clock. And we're like, oh, should we go for like, we were kind of hungry. Like
You and the parents? You and the parents?
No, this is Brady. There wasn't that many of us.
Because they weren't.
But Brady,
were they not in the athletes' village anymore at that point?
Well, they were, but Brady came down to party with us.
Oh yeah, so he doesn't have to be there anymore. He's
his
done.
2 friends came from Calgary,
Oh,
so
sick.
they were there. Matt Sims, Lauren Boswell. Anyways, doesn't really matter who was there. But there is a group of like 8 of us, and we're like, oh, should we go have gyozas and like one more drink? And we're like, the classic, like, yeah, okay. And there's a little bar like right across the street from the hotel we were staying at. And we walk into this place, and it's 3 Korean ladies, and they're eating dinner, and there's no one in there, and they're obviously they're running the bar, and they're like, oh, so sorry. Like, no, don't be sorry, because they were eating, and they were like supposed to be behind the bar, so they kind of clean up everything, and they're like, what do you want? And we're like, oh, just like gyozas and
Soju.
And no, and some beers or whatever. And then Brady pulls out his gold medal to show these ladies, and like, oh, gold medal! They get so excited. Turn off all the lights. They turn on the disco ball. And then they line up Jaeger bombs, just like a line of Jaeger bombs. And then we knocked him over with the gold. Brady knocked it over with the gold medal, and that was the start of the end.
So you were hung to the rafters.
So then one of his buddies, I think he's a doctor in Calgary, orders a bottle of scotch. So we start drinking scotch. Then these 2 randoms come in, and at this point we're pretty drunk, and like 5 of us have our shirts off, just partying.
Sure. Your shirts are off.
It was pretty, like, we were like buckled.
I love how you
these guys walk in,
omitted that part.
don't know those guys, and like the first thing they see is Brady standing there, shirt off, gold medal runs, like so stoked. Within like 5 minutes, one of the guys, Korean guys we don't even know, never met, has a shirt off, buys a bottle of scotch, and there were 2 bottles of scotch, and then an hour goes by, the scotch goes, and then another bottle is bought. So anyways,
so you're hung to the rafters, hung to the tits, watching your future wife win a gold medal. Everyone's screaming and yelling.
go to the hotel. We got back at like 5:30.
Oh my god.
Didn't wake up. Had my alarm. I went pee, and there was like water glasses right above, like a little shelf right above the toilet, and I went to lean on the wall. I was that drunk, and I knocked one of them over, and I was like, oh no, and it broke. And then I switched hands because switch hands, and I knocked the other glass over, and I'm like,
amazing, Stan.
go to wipe it up, cut my finger, and then I'm like, I'm upset, so I'm like, I'll deal with it in the morning. Don't wake up in the morning. My alarm goes off. The hotel calls me. I don't wake up. I was like out cold. Finally, someone comes bang on my door for like apparently 5 minutes. Like, Stan, we gotta go. The bus is waiting. We're late. Get out. Never got to deal with that, and I felt so bad. And then ran into the bus so hungover. Everybody is so hungover. We got up there, and there's like a big lineup to get in, and I'm like, I'm gonna miss Kelce's first run. And the team manager Sims is like, take your jacket right now and stuff it up Brady's girlfriend's puff jacket. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, make it look like she's pregnant. So we made it look like she was pregnant, and 5 of us go to VIP. It's like, hey, can we go through VIP? She's pregnant. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. So 5 of us walk through VIP. It was hilarious. Just Brady has different access, so he wasn't with us.
Yeah.
But Kat, his girlfriend, was with us. And so we got through VIP, and I ran up, and I just missed the very first run, which was Mare's Heat. But Kels was actually going last because I think she qualified second. So I didn't miss anything, but I was so hungover. And then I hung out. I like, first person I saw was my buddy Kevin. He's like, oh, did you do a bit of drinking last night? And I had a big beard. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, how'd you know? He's like, dude, I can smell you from
Oh my God.
You smell like a bar. And then I went and hung out with her parents and her grandparents all day.
I want to go
reeking like booze.
I want to go back and look at these photos of
hilarious.
like you guys celebrating at the end.
Hilarious. And I wasn't even hungover because just all the adrenaline I was going through. And then she won, and I like jumped over the fence, and I gave her a big hug, and I was crying, and she's like, "You crying?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm crying. I'm so emotional. I'm so happy." And then she gives me a kiss, and the first thing she says, she's like, "Did you drink scotch last night?" I still had it like probably all over my mustache. I definitely didn't brush my teeth. It was pretty funny.
That's amazing.
And then I hung out with her until like 12 o'clock at night. And,
did it all over again?
well, because I watched her go through all the media. And
Did you get to go with her? To
Yeah,
all the
I
things?
did, which was awesome. I was backstage.
Just reeking of booze.
Reeking of booze.
Everybody's like, well, we got the gold medalist, and who's the scruffy dude that reeks of alcohol that's
It
following
looks
around?
like kind of a bum. And then we went to like Canada House and did like a little celebration with her and Britt, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That's an awesome story.
I want to say I wasn't even hungover. I was hammered drunk because we got home at like 5:30 and we left at 6:30.
A couple beers throughout the day just to keep an even keel kind of thing.
Oh, I have some photos and videos from that night that are pretty comical. Like fully cross-eyed, no shirts, in a bar that fits maybe 15 people, and there was 8 of us in there. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's amazing. Thank you for that, Stan.
Great memories.
Hey,
One of the best days of my life. The next day when Kels won, it was such a roller coaster of emotions. It was pretty cool.
and you're yeah, it's good that you were there too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have had that great
But
story.
imagine going all the way over there and then
missing.
not waking up and missing it.
Yeah, that would have been worse.
Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be married to Kels right now.
Yeah, maybe. She's the kind of person that would probably spin it in a good way. Be like,
She wouldn't have even noticed until after the race anyway.
Oh yeah,
I didn't see her before the race.
I totally saw your race.
It was amazing. I watched it from Pyeongchang. I had it great televised while I was in bed.
Well, I came all this way and I thought, I had second thoughts. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be there because it'd be bad luck or
Won't be commentary. I mean,
yeah, right. I wanted to get. It's like when you go to a hockey game versus like watching it on TV. Like they're just so different. You can get more out of the game when you watch it on TV than when you're
for sure.
Right?
You're just not part of the atmosphere, but it is kind of weird though going to hockey games and watching it. And it's like almost like it's almost kind of boring watching it without.
Thank you.
It's like,
I didn't want to say the word, but I have.
Like,
I've fallen asleep in stadiums before. I remember when I was a kid, my dad took me to an Avalanche game. We sat in the second to last row, and they lost 6-1, and I was like doing the full on like head nod. I went to 2 Grizzlies games back in the day when they were in Vancouver Grizzlies games.
Yeah,
Statistically, the worst loss they'd ever had.
No way.
And the second worst loss they'd ever had. Same sort of thing, just nodding off. Like I've always had a problem with falling asleep, like during the day or during things. Like in high school, if they ever turned the light off to watch a movie in any class, no matter what class it was. Too. Out cold. I physically can't keep my eyes open. Same thing with like sporting events. I'm like, sweet, I'm at a hockey game, whatever, and it's just starting to nod off like crazy.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think it's a little boring.
I agree. Unless it's a really good game, but
unless it's a really
you're
good
with
game.
some good people. Like if you're on a date or something like that,
help.
good seats definitely.
And then I went and watched the BC Lions, and I don't know if I've ever. It was so boring.
I used to have season tickets.
We were quite far, and it was like, and I'm not a huge football fan, but I was like, it's so boring. It's like so many stops. It's like
football is boring
20 seconds at a time, and it's like, it was just slow watching. I didn't love it.
No,
I'm a big hockey fan, and I do like going to games. I think it is pretty fun, especially during the playoffs. I've been to a couple playoff games, and because just the ambiance is like electric in there. Even if they're losing, it's not amazing, but
I agree.
I've gone to 5 games, and I think they've lost 4 or 5.
Only 5?
Yeah.
Did you go to that? Didn't Douglas hook up like a box?
I didn't.
At one point? No, he didn't. No, Douglas is a big hockey fan. So on Twitter, I'm on Twitter, but pretty much just to shit talk hockey. I'll like, I don't know, during the Freeride World Tour, whenever that's on, I'll like live tweet the runs.
Right.
And then like whenever there's like a Canucks game or something on, I just shit talk the Canucks, and there's like 3 people that respond.
Well, what if the Canucks are good?
I'll shit talk them, or I'll be like, yeah, sweet, way to go, guys, whatever. I'll just comment on what's going on.
Yeah.
3 people reply. Leslie Anthony, Mike Douglas, and Taylor Pratt, who's like a skier and like snowbird.
I was gonna say maybe Paul Morrison might chime in like Canucks suck because he's a big Maple Leafs fan.
Oh, I have no time for that guy. Then that's why he's never been on the show.
Oh, that's
No.
It's the best when you go shoot with Ian and Paul Morrison. It is unbelievable.
So I've been talking to them since like the first season about getting them both on the show together. So Paul Morrison, for those listening, is like the Lee Cohen of Canada, or Whistler Blackcomb. Like, he was the guy. He's the photographer, and his son Ian is a pro skier because his dad is a great photographer.
He's also a ridiculously good biker.
Yeah, he's an amazing mountain biker, and he's a really good skier. But he was only there because of his dad.
But I'm not going to say he's an amazing human. He's a great human that I think is amazing, but he's an asshole.
To you.
No, to everyone.
No, man, come on.
No, he's a great guy.
Come on, man. This is gonna. I'm not editing this at all.
This is great. No,
Ian's good.
Like, you should put this in.
Ian has the best.
Ian's gonna listen to it and be like, "Yeah, I am an asshole."
He can dish it out, but he can take it equally as well.
Oh, for sure.
Like, he's like the shit talk king. I love it, and that's why I want to get him and his dad, because everything that he's told me and you guys have told me is that when they're shooting together and they just start chirping each other, it's hilarious.
If you want like big controversy, just bring up Maple Leafs and Canucks. If the Canucks beat the Maple Leafs, which hasn't happened in a long time, or politics. They don't even bring up politics with Paul. It's not worth your time.
Well, I know Paul and Leslie are buds, like are good buds.
Yeah.
And then that's when Leslie isn't chirping the Conservative Party of Canada. Yeah. He's tweeting Canuck stuff.
And Paul's like the nicest, most soft-spoken person, from what I know of him. And I want to say Ian got him to snap once when we were shooting, and I was like, I've never seen that side of Paul, and it was like, he didn't say goodbye to us. He was so mad, and like, I mean, Ian was just feeding it, and it was right when Harper was being Harper, being a horrible person. Yeah. Stop Harper. And then on top of it, I think the Canucks beat the Maple Leafs. We were just like, he was just digging and digging. Yeah. Oh God!
Nothing. There's no one like family to get you like just
fired up.
Set on, like push buttons.
Yeah.
My brother and I, we don't hang out all the time, but within like 5 minutes, easily, we each know what buttons to push.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. What, you and your sisters are the same?
Yeah, I don't push my sis. Yeah, maybe a little bit.
But you can.
I can, for sure, but I don't usually do that.
You're never that guy.
But my sisters push each other's buttons way more than I did.
Yeah.
I was the youngest.
Oh, you were like a different gender too, so you were kind of like just off. You weren't in the crosshairs.
I had a easy like 4-lane highway to rip down. Mm-hmm. My parents didn't really care because they're like, oh, your sisters are both worse than you are. Whatever. They partied when they were younger. I was like a really good kid. Sure, my mom worries a lot more about me than my sisters, though, but for good reason.
Heck, man, I'm not your mom, and I worry about you, Stan. Let's talk about some skiing. So you guys put out Fall Forecast this past year,
yeah,
and I gotta tell you, the movies have gotten better every year. You can definitely see, like you guys are improving and learning your craft as you go, right?
Yep.
And it's kind of cool to see another like full length movie company emerge. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
There's the TGRs and the MSPs, and you had Level 1 for a long time, and a lot of other movie companies would put one out here and put one out there, where there wasn't that consistency. When this is like your 4th year in a row, 5th year in a row now.
This will be our 7th movie.
Why did you guys name it Blank?
So the first year, I wasn't part of it. It was Casey and Alexi.
Yeah.
Casey had an idea to make a ski movie and asked for Alexi's help. And they went and made Blank. It's called Blank, the movie. And so they did that. And then the next year, Alexi was like, well, we should keep this going because Casey got an opportunity to film with Level 1. So he took that, and Alexi asked me, like, we started skiing together quite a bit, and he's like, hey, should we make another movie and we'll call it Blank Collective Films? Because that was the first movie.
Yeah.
And we were just going to make another movie, and then found a little bit of money to make that movie. We spent a little bit of money too out of our own pockets the first few years.
Just learning,
but it was
figuring out how to do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a good way, like, to create value for ourselves and for our sponsors. But it was also a good way for us to get into those movies, because with Solomon, they have Solomon Freeski TV, and they put a bunch of money into that. And then instead of like
paying for athletes to be in like an MSP,
or in a TGR, which was pretty expensive, it's better if they just give us the money, and then they get all the shots. It's another outlet that they have. And yeah, throughout the last, it's gonna be 6 years, I think. Yeah, we've grown it and gotten more money, and with the help of Jeffy, which the first few years we didn't use him, but he helped a lot because he knew the business super well,
inside and out,
and
man.
he was able to guide us. He knows it inside and out for sure.
Jeffy Thomas, he's been on the show.
I know he ran his own movie company. He worked for Poor Boys. He's worked for Mike for Switchback Entertainment. He worked for Origin. He's had a lot of experience, and he guided us in the right direction. And I want to say, maybe not guided us, but actually like
held our
hand. And Alexi's been learning a ton from him.
Alexi's kind of taken over the role of creative director, I guess.
He's
right?
creative director, and I want to say he's like the boss.
Yeah.
He takes care of, I want to say, 80% of Blank.
So what do you do, Stan?
I run social media. And I actually stopped working because I wanted to actually help out more, but
too many cooks spoil the broth.
Yeah, too many cooks spoil the broth, and he's like, he lives stone's throw away from Jeffy's, so he just rips over there and edits, and I'd love to help more. At the same time, I don't know if I do want to help more.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing where you're like, oh, I need it to be like this, but like, I have faith and trust in these guys to do a really good job.
Oh, absolutely.
And it turns out
they do a great job.
And if there's something specific that you want, you're gonna be like, okay, look, can we do it this way?
For sure. And I'm also in the creative side of things. Like, at the start of the year, we always have like a little meeting, and it's between Jeffy, Alexi, and I, and we kind of go over what we want the movie,
what's the theme,
what the theme is,
what kind of trips.
So I put a little input here and there.
Are you bummed that?
Am I the driving force of Blank? Definitely not.
Are you bummed that you did like the British Columbia episode like a couple years ago before we got locked down?
Yeah, I was.
Because you're like, oh, we could do. Oh wait, we did that already.
Yeah.
It's all right though. How are things going with the COVID, the whole COVID situation? The
conditions here were really good too when we did that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
how are things going like now with everything COVID? Like, how has that affected your planning and like filming and stuff for this year?
It has a little bit with traveling to obviously the States, even anywhere out of country, which we're not doing. So we're trying to get the Americans to film down there.
Yeah, it looks. Sorry, I was gonna ask you that and had forgotten about it. It looks like Dyack and Drew.
Lexi and Drew. We've been filming down in the States.
Who's Lexi's like common partner?
K2. So we have K2 sponsoring the movie the last 2 years.
K2 and Solomon.
Yeah, K2, Solomon, and Head.
Yeah.
Solomon's the title sponsor.
All right, because Jeffy works with Head really closely. That's why you got like Jordy and like Cole and stuff.
We try to get as much Cooch as we can.
Cooch, yes.
And Riley, yeah, you're right.
So looking at all of the footage, like the Instagram stuff that's been coming out, I'm like, oh, looks like they're filming for blank. It looks like this season actually might be like full of heavy hitters, man. Like,
oh yeah,
you got a stacked roster this year.
No, it's awesome. We got a stacked roster, and we've actually, it's crazy with COVID. It was like, oh, are we going to be able to get enough footage? And we have more footage now than we did last year.
So you're saying yesterday you were like,
oh yeah,
we've got enough for 2 movies.
Yeah, I mean we
have
a lot of POW.
You heard it here first, everybody. They're putting out 2 movies this year.
we have a lot of POW, and then we got some really good pillow skiing when we were up to Sentry.
Yep.
We went to Sentry for 10 days. It was my first time there, but I've obviously seen it in MSP movies. And it was the most productive film trip I've ever been on. It was crazy.
Why?
And it was, well, we flew in and you're right there, and you ski downhill to most things in the morning.
From the lodge?
But a lot of the zones, you still got a ski tour, like 15 minutes, but I want to say everything's like 15 minutes away from the ski, you ski down, tour for 15 minutes, you're there. You walk out of the lodge, tour like 3 minutes, and you're at like probably the sickest lines that are there. They're called lodge spines, because you can see them from the lodge lines. And everything's within like half an hour. And we got quite lucky with weather. It was when it rained. It got really warm, rained to the top, and then everything froze, and they didn't have that there. It's kind of like the end of Rogers Pass, right before Donald area, and you fly in. It's a short flight. And we're super lucky to get in there, because usually it's fully booked, and Americans canceled because of COVID, and we got to go in there, which was unreal, because the conditions were really good. The Abbey Danger wasn't amazing when we first got there, but we let it settle for like 7 days. So we just skied pillows and trees and mellower stuff. And then we were able to get the lodge lines and then out like some alpine lines.
So you were saying like your movies have all been like 35, 45 minutes. They're not super long. Like we were talking about this yesterday. We were walking the dogs.
Yeah.
And like and the point we were talking about is like sometimes those longer movies, they get a little boring. They get a little bit boring. Maybe not boring, but they get, yeah. It's, and just like any movie, like I find like if I ever go to a movie theater, like comedy movies, the first like 10 minutes is hilarious, and then the middle is fine, and like, and now here comes the part where he does something stupid and he wins the girl back. And, right. But then it just kind of gets, it starts to drag a little. Maybe not boring, but it starts to drag a little. So is that one of the like primary reasons why you don't have hour-long movies, hour-plus long movies? Have you had this conversation?
Yeah, I personally think it doesn't even matter if it's like you could have bangers for an hour and a half. Like some companies go for an hour and a half, and I just get so bored.
Do you think it's because
like after 50 minutes, I think anything over personally I think 45 is like perfect. Anything like half hour to 45 minutes, because it's entertaining,
keeps your engagement,
and then as soon as you go past that, it's like,
do you think
to me it kind of gets boring.
Do you think it's always been like that, or is it because of the Instagram culture now, where it's just like scroll?
I don't know. I don't remember when I was kids how long movies were. I don't know if they were an hour and a half though. I don't think they were.
Yeah, some of them were kind of long, weren't they?
Possibly. But yeah, our attention spans are obviously way shorter because of social media. It's crazy. But yeah, I don't know. When I was a kid, I didn't ever think a ski movie was too long.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like I go watch a movie that's an hour and a half.
You're like, I'm not even in this one. God.
No, I think it gets boring. And like even, yeah.
If you skied for one of those, if you skied for one of those,
especially because I see the movie like 100 times before it actually comes out.
If you skied for one of those companies that had those like hour and a half long movies, would you be having this conversation right now?
Yes, for sure. I still would be, because I think they're boring.
Yeah, I get you.
I mean, I don't think the whole movie's boring.
No, it's exciting, but then you're just like, okay, because there's not enough change. Right.
It gets a little repetitive. And unless the story is like ridiculously good, which
is rare.
Which usually like action companies, like that I would call ourselves action companies, don't usually do.
It's like the skiing version of porn. It's like yes, hello, the kitchen is this way. The pipe is needing to be fixed. Wow. That's a big hammer.
Exactly like that. That's exactly.
So you're saying that this next movie, because you've already got like
it's going to be 45 minutes.
You've already got a movie's
or
worth.
less.
You've already got a movie's worth, and we haven't even got to the spring yet.
Right.
So you're saying that. So let me ask you this:
Trim the fat.
you're gonna have zero, basically be like all killer no filler, like that Sum 41 album. I think that's what the name of that album is
Sometimes
called.
filler makes a movie better.
Well,
Because it makes the...
filler clips.
It makes the killers seem better.
Yeah, but what if it's all just banger, 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 right?
Yeah, but then
Would
get
you
bored.
then, if you're like, all right, we got like another 10 minutes of bangers here, would you rather put that out, or have you get bored and have everyone else be like, oh my god, this is pretty rad?
Yeah.
It's different. Or would you like put out the movie
I think that's a happy medium.
and then put out like a couple little mini like warm-up edits?
Because you still gotta put somehow with just bangers, you're not gonna have a story. It's just gonna be bangers. How
do you feel about like? Well, you could still build a story into it. Like, how do you feel about like, like trailers for regular movies and stuff, where like you watch the trailer, it's like a 3-minute trailer. Like, I feel like I just watched the entire film. Do you know what I mean?
That's exactly what happens with skiing too.
Right, but like, I wonder if you've got all these amazing clips, put a bunch of killer clips out that aren't in the movie.
Yeah.
Right, that would be interesting. Or like, if you look at like the X Games this last week, the X Games Real Ski.
Yeah, that was
they released
horrible.
on a minute and a half like competition. They released like clips from every single. Like, why did you do that?
And they're usually releasing like the banger clips. Wow, for engagement.
Well, still, I don't know. I read a thing in News Schoolers where they were kind of shit talking that, and I agreed. I'm like, they shouldn't have showed those clips. I don't think.
That was also, I watched almost all of them. It was insane.
It was still good.
Alex Hall.
Yeah.
That was unreal.
Alex Hall, and then I thought Alex Hall edged out Hackle personally.
Yeah.
I don't know about Tanner for third. I didn't know who I wanted to have third, to be honest with you. I don't know enough about that kind of stuff. Like, I don't understand it enough because I've never like bounced my skull off of a off of a staircase trying to do something like that. So I don't understand how hard like one clip would be to get versus another, because I haven't experienced it. But I do, like, when watching some stuff was like that one where Alex Hall kind of did that switch butter off the lip, whatever that clip was. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about? The backcountry clip where
the switch 7 to land switch and then like switch front flip, that one?
Yeah, or something. He basically like tapped the lip of the rollover.
Yeah, no, that was insane. That was the craziest clip I think I've seen in a long time. I would have loved to see Tanner not get injured and put out like a full segment. Right? It's pretty crazy that he's still doing it at such a high level.
Yeah.
He's third. I think he's 37.
And just the output that he's doing,
7 or 8,
like skiing on the Fred World Tour, and then like competing in like real ski. You know, big shout out to Taylor Lundquist too, man. First female to compete in that, which is pretty rad. But she wrecked her knee as well, so she had to stop as well. So she would have had probably some more clips too. She was a little bummed, but
pretty crazy that he still has energy and like he's so driven.
Oh man!
And I'm sure his body's not feeling great. No. I'm complaining about my body, but I'm sure his is.
Yeah, you haven't double knee, double heels, Achilles heel.
I'm just really sore. I'm actually been pretty lucky. I haven't had bad injuries, but I think it's because I'm so tight.
Just
all my muscles.
Just a big whiner.
Yeah. I have this theory that
you are built like solid.
Probably jinx myself. Yeah, but Alexi is too.
That's true. I mean, that's why you guys are both so good at skiing.
But Alexi's blown his knees 6 times.
6 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of them were park skiing though.
And they weren't recent though, which is nice.
No.
When he stopped park skiing, he stopped blowing his knees.
I don't have any knee injuries, but I have a lot of concussions, and that's what people don't see. I'm like, oh yeah, I've never really been injured, but then again, I'm like,
have you had a handful of concussions?
13 concussions.
13, dude.
All of them were ski racing, pretty much.
Oh, so
I had one free skiing. One falling out of a tree. That one was the stupidest one for sure.
So 13.
Yeah.
Like, dude. So do you think
3 of them were like bad?
Do you think
concussions too, like major concussions? I had a skull fracture when I was 2. That's like the scar between my eyes.
Oh wow! How'd you do that one?
sister was jumping off the retaining wall in the snow, and I thought it'd be good good thing to follow her off of it, and I smashed myself. We had in Switzerland, we had all the bottom windows were like a meter off the ground, and we got a lot of snow where we lived, so there was like little cages around the windows protecting them, and on the sides there were spikes for decoration, and I went head first.
You foreheaded a window.
Skull fracture, 2 years old, nanny at home. My parents were both running the bakery. It was a disaster. I mean,
jeez. When did you guys move from Switzerland to Canada?
I was 96.
You were 8. Did you speak English then?
Nope.
Really?
No, zero.
And you had a bakery?
I picked it up pretty quick.
How come they didn't open a bakery here?
Still have a bakery.
Did they?
It's still in Switzerland.
No way. Family owned still?
Not anymore.
It's still the same bakery.
It was. Yeah, it's still the same bakery. It's my dad gave it to his brother-in-law, and then they split up. So it's not family owned anymore.
Still,
but he still owns it. He still runs it.
How come why did they move here? Because your dad's a ski instructor, right?
Yep.
How come they never opened a bakery in Whistler? They would.
He worked at Gone Bakery for a long time. He didn't want to open one, but he worked at Gone Bakery for a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then he hated it. You know, he'd like get up at 4.
When you're a baker, you gotta get.
No, it was like 2 a.m. You
gotta start working at 4. Yeah. So I noticed that Kels makes a lot of sourdough, and she has in the past.
I have too. Yeah, it's been great.
I was gonna say but it always seems like she's doing more of it than you are. But I'm
doing it. She just posts about it more. I'm not a foodie.
But can you bake like a tight croissant? That's a hard one to do, right? There's like butter layer, dough layer.
My dad, on the other hand, he used to bring that was the best when we lived in Switzerland. He'd bring like warm croissants, freshly baked.
Really?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that
he'd usually come back at like 7 or 8, and like right for our breakfast, and then we'd leave to school. The reason why we moved, they were super stressed out with the bakery because my mom was running the cafeteria, my dad was running the bakery, and my dad worked opposite schedules, so he didn't get to hang out with us a ton. And my mom, kind of the same thing, and they were stressed out, and some friends came and moved to Pemberton, and they came to visit him and loved how laid back Canadians were. And they literally just sold our house and moved to Canada.
Crazy.
And then my sisters and I finished the year of school, and we were staying with our grandparents, and then that summer we moved to Whistler.
How long did it take you to learn English?
I don't even remember learning it. I had neighbors right across from us, Steve Romanin, who was a year older than me, and Jenna Romanin was a year younger, and I literally went over there and asked if I could play basketball, probably in French. And yeah, I picked it up, I want to say in 2 years, and then you go to school, and it's funny because as a kid you don't really
think about it.
You don't think about it. You don't care, and you don't
and you absorb it so quickly because you have no choice, right? Because you've got perfect North American English.
I wouldn't say perfect, but it's quite good.
Your accent is very perfect.
Yeah, where my oldest sister Olivia, she moved. She would have been 13 when we moved, and she has a little bit of an accent still. Mm-hmm. And then my parents are like,
Is your English better or is your French better?
No, my English is better for sure.
Yeah, because
I lost my French a little bit, and then when I got on the international team with Solomon, and also made friends with Alexi, I started actually speaking quite a bit more French.
So you speak 3 languages. You speak French and English and Quebecois.
And Australian.
Oh, yeah, mate. Oh, happier than a kookaburra in a eucalyptus tree, mate.
Yeah, mate. I reckon. There's heaps good time here. Yeah.
So when you go back to for meetings, Anansi and stuff, you're like, oh, sweet, just probably clicks right back in.
I have a little bit of a tough time expressing myself. I can have a normal conversation, but as soon as I have to, when I negotiate contracts, for example,
they want you to do it in French.
Well, I speak French, so they kind of, and then I go,
it is your native language.
I go to Fringlish. I go if I'm trying to say something and I can't figure it out in French, I can just go right to English. And BB's quite good. He speaks English fairly well, but he understands everything.
That's kind of like the Acadians.
Oh man,
like Maddie and those crew, like they're like
sometimes I don't even understand what they
Javale, the Costco or the store. Nouns go into
I've listened to him talk with like Dahmer or even Alexi talking with his buddies from Quebec. If they're like talking like how they speak between friends, sometimes I'm like, I might understand more Spanish. I speak a little bit of Spanish, and I'd be like, I think if you guys were speaking Spanish, I would have picked up more of the conversation.
I wonder how long it'll be until it's like classified as like a separate language. Do you know what I mean? Like if you talk to anybody that's like full on Scottish or like full on Irish, and you're like, what? Are we speaking the same language, man? Like we were biking once with like Dave Garriani. We're up, I think we were riding like Hay Bud on Blackcomb, and we ran into this Swiss guy, and he was asking Dave some questions, and Dave was, answering in French and whatnot, and I was listening. I'm like, I'll go down there and do the thing. I'm like, Dave. I'm like, I understood like almost everything you guys were saying. He's like, yeah, so I was speaking proper French. I wasn't speaking Quebecois. I'm like, oh. Because like, I grew up speaking French. Like I didn't grow up speaking, but I went through the whole school program, and I was actually really engaged in it. I enjoyed it. And
opposite than me.
Right. And then
I took French the whole time for no apparent reason, because what I knew in grade 2, I was like grade 12 English.
You probably thought it was easy. But like I know it. Like when I go to like, I was in Morocco and they speak pretty limited, like basic French, and I was in Paris, like it takes me like maybe a few days, and I start picking it up really quick enough to where I can like understand the conversation, but I don't know what you're saying exactly, but I know what you're talking about, and I can get by. But yeah, like I've lived in Whistler, and I've dated Quebecois girls, and I've lived and worked with tons of people from Quebec. I have no idea what you're talking about, man. Like no idea. So I kind of hope that it's like classified as a separate language soon, so people can just be like, oh, thank God. Easier for people like me.
Maybe just a separate country.
I'm gonna skip right past that topic. You foreigner. Do you speak any German? Like Swiss
I was saying
German?
Quebec would be a separate country.
No, I know.
I know.
Pass. I don't even want to get started on that. We love Quebec and all their fun people.
I do too.
Right? Hanging out in Montreal at IF3 on the boat.
Amazing.
Looking for pizza. Doing whatever. Getting into trouble.
3 a.m.
Right?
Might have been 4.
Picking up awards for blank movies.
Which is nice. Which is the only award... ski awards now that are left.
Yeah, well,
Powder
awards are gone. High Fives didn't do anything this year.
That's right.
IF3, Luke was smart enough to make it that virtual event, which was really, really cool. New Schoolers Awards are coming up, but they are a little different.
I don't think Blank's getting a
New Schoolers Award. No, I can actually tell you that they didn't. I ended up doing voiceovers for all of the intros the other day. So all the nominations.
Yeah.
So it was like Colby Stevenson, Sammy Carlson. It was like a list of like 20 names. I had to keep like doing my like announcer voice.
I feel like they're more park orientated.
Absolutely.
And I don't think we slide a single rail in Blank. Well, we don't. We haven't in a couple years. We sometimes did. We had like Vinny and those guys. I don't think there's no park shoot this year.
No, because you got too many.
One, we can't shoot bangers on the hill.
Oh, because of Vail and insurance and stuff like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
how did that change? Because you used to be able to go up pretty much
not part of the story
all the right?
It changed.
Yeah, big time changed. Why don't you give me your opinion on that, Stan?
I'll pass.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Like, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a real bummer. I wish there was someone that would just like open up. Like it
is a bummer because we lost, like, we used to have someone that worked there and we lost that connection. And now without it, it's like, where do you go? I don't even know where to go anymore.
Yeah, he's gone now. They were one of my first sponsors, Whistler Blackcomb.
Yeah.
And then Vail came in and they canceled everybody's paycheck.
They're one of our sponsors too.
Mm-hmm. I'm just glad that they managed to do.
Also lost the paycheck.
I'm glad that they managed to do the Magnetic movie.
Yeah,
they let it happen.
I missed that world premiere.
Oh, that was fun.
I was in Europe
doing something else, speaking French,
I was
eating
doing
baguettes.
A thing for Solomon, and then it was High Five right at that time.
Was it?
I missed it.
So if you haven't seen the Magnetic movie, it's basically a movie filmed entirely on Whistler Blackcomb, like accessed from Whistler Blackcomb, and it summed up, like, it was 4 years ago. It basically summed up like the first 17 years of me living here, It was just a shred fest with a bunch of rad people having a good time.
Yeah, and it'd also sum up why I'm sore.
That was the night segment you did in there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you're sore just because you hucked to flat, man, and that's your own damn fault.
Yeah, and that gap on the toilet bowl was and that was all my choice, and I've wanted to do it since I was like a little kid ski racing. I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool. You come flying off of there, down on the toilet bowl. And when you're standing on top of a toilet bowl, it's like a run, and it looks fairly steep. And then you go and stand on top of that corner. It doesn't look steep from that corner. It actually looks very flat, and they were supposed to groom it, and they didn't, and I pretty much just landed on hard pack moguls. Backslapped, like when I was like, I almost backed out of it, and then I was like, yeah, you know what? No, I'm not going to back out, and I'll be fine.
Do you think?
And the best case scenario is exactly what happened. I'm like, I'm not stomping this. I'm going to backslap the shit out of it. And that's exactly what I did. And it hurt so bad. I sprained both my thumbs because I went back so hard. My shoulders, probably that was the start of my sore shoulders.
So so Kels is working to be a physiotherapist,
Which is amazing,
right? And does she like actually practice on you, or is she like?
She hasn't really done any hands-on or like practical stuff. She just finished her undergrad, which is mostly like.
It's like because I didn't realize she's working at Back in Action, which
at the front desk.
Yeah, at the front desk. So Back in Action, we had Mike Conway, who's been on the show for the Knehab episode.
He's awesome,
and he's been helping me work on my leg. But I called the other day.
Best physio in Whistler, I think.
Absolutely, I agree. And Kelsey answered the phone. She's like, "Hey, man," I'm like, "Hey, I have to cancel because I got
a powder day."
No, that was the first one. Oh. Did I tell you about that too?
Yeah, you did. You told me about the powder day.
Yeah, the powder day. That was a different story, but like.
Oh, you told me about the COVID thing.
Yeah, then I got exposed, so I had to cancel another appointment, which is too bad. But you got to really get in there and be like, hey, Kels, like you need to study. It hurts right here.
She's actually doing interviews next week to get into her master's program. So the way it works
do you have to have a master's in order to do that on people?
Uh-huh.
So you can't
so right now she's undergrad. If you have your undergrad, you can't be a physio.
Really?
You gotta have a master's to be a physio.
You have to have a master's degree to be a physiotherapist?
It's like a doctor.
Really? Mm-hmm. Interesting. Isn't that like an osteopath? Same thing?
I don't know.
They do more schooling?
It's 6 years. 4 years undergrad and then 2 year master. So it's pretty hard to get into. There's only 100 spots in BC a year, 80 of which will be at UBC.
Did she just
UBC, and 20 of those are in Prince George. Those are the two.
Does she take a photo of her like medals and then like thumbnail attach them to her?
It was like pretty funny. Just this morning, she's like, "So we're doing these interviews, and they're obviously going to be virtual interviews."
She's wearing her medals in the Zoom interview.
But she was wearing a sweater with the Olympic rings because they're like, "I want them to know I'm an Olympian." I'm like, I don't know if I would do that, maybe. And then our other roommate, man, he's like, no, don't do it. I think it's pretty funny.
You should do it.
Do you think so?
Absolutely. She should wear both of her medals around her neck. I'd be like, and then make a joke of it. Be like, I don't know. I was hoping these might help me out. And they'd be like, she's really cool. Let's get her on board.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it works like that, but yeah, it's like a job interview. You come in with your belt. I mean, it probably would help you get the job.
Man, if you have won a medal in the Olympics,
or just make them like super obvious in the background.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think I asked Cassie Sharp about that. I'm like, what have you done? Like, how have you utilized your medal to like get things that?
Oh, break open beer bottles.
I'm sure you've done that.
No,
like,
she's done that.
Oh, absolutely. Like just to get ahead of the line of stuff, man. Be like, well, it's like celebrities use their celebrity. If you're a gold medalist or a gold medalist in the Olympics, it's your privilege. It's your privilege. In my opinion, it absolutely is your privilege to. I would take advantage of that.
It's life's work to get there,
right?
Yeah, it's not easy.
No, I'd like to maybe do a podcast with a bunch of gold medalists and just hear some of their craziest stories, like based around their medals.
Yeah,
I was reading some story from David Wise the other day about people asking him when he's like going through the airport security.
Yeah.
That'd be neat. Maybe that'll be like a little feature we'll put together.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, man. So what do you got planned for the rest of this winter?
I'm gonna keep filming for Blank.
Yeah.
Got a few things going on. Film for Blank. We want to do, obviously, have a Big Mountain segment, which we didn't really have last year because of COVID.
So could you maybe do I wonder if you could do 2 movies.
You're really pushing these two movies.
First of the season or second of the season, or like do the banger movie and then have like auxiliary clips. You know, they have like the athlete clips, right?
Yeah.
Athlete edits, which
Yeah.
I always really like. To be honest with you, I think they're better sometimes.
We actually haven't done one. Well, because at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff you do doesn't make the movie.
Right? So that's why you got to have like a second
Left on the
like maybe not a movie or like
cutting room floor.
The cutting room floor A bangers or whatever.
Yeah.
When they're not even B-list because they're that good still.
Well, some of them are for sure. So filming for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably we're going to Mike Wigley's from the 15th to the 25th, which is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then filming a thing for Solomon. Can't say what it is, I don't think.
Because they didn't tell you.
They didn't tell me. No, we need a sunny day in the Alpine, which doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
No.
Before we go to Wigley's.
We got some snow coming. That's all right.
Douglas is a little
Are you
stressed out.
going to keep going with Backy Sunday?
Yeah, I'll keep going with Backy Sunday. I still do Backies all
It's
the time.
Sunday right now, as a matter of fact. It's Backy Sunday.
I actually put carving shots.
I saw that.
But I did put, it was nice not having huck neck. And at the end, I was like, oh, wait. No, I did have huck neck because I did a backy and off a side hit and over rotated and back slapped.
Jesse, I was walking dogs with Big Bird today, and he's like, how's Stan Ray? How's carvings going? I was like,
That's hilarious.
That's how it's going to go, man. That's your transition.
I'd love it.
Do you know who might be taking over your Backy Sunday title? Hedvig Vessel.
Holy smokes.
She was
that was sick.
She was on the show last week, and that was that one in the event at Ordino the other day.
And
then
I was looking at that takeoff. It was like rocks right before she took off. I would have never backed.
Did you see her interview after? She's like, yeah, it pops you. I like it like that. She was a mogul skier forever, right? So she just likes that straight up pop.
Yeah. She went to the Olympics
twice.
For moguls, yeah.
And then last year in the Hakuba comp, like right at the start, same thing. She launched a massive backflip. So I think she might be taking your title, man.
No, it's rad seeing chicks send it.
You should start. So since it's...
Did you see Janelle's backflip?
Oh, today. Oh, my God.
Smokes.
I just sent her a message. I was like, who was that? She's like, it's me. I'm like, damn, girl. Did they give you some peanuts on that flight?
Oh, man.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So
Scotty's like, text me today. He's like, did you see Janelle's backflip? I'm like, no, I haven't. And he's like, go check it out. She went like Stan Ray big.
Yeah,
and I checked it out. I was like, holy smokes.
You should do a contest where you just get people to like tag Backy Sunday and then let it become its own thing.
I was doing that and like getting people and then I'd post them on my stories and stuff. I haven't done a contest, and then I kind of thought about it. I'm like, if someone gets hurt, so I'm going to have a lawsuit on my hands because it's like, oh, Stan told me to do this.
You're like, I wasn't anywhere near him.
Wasn't me.
Yeah. Hey, I'm north of the border. There might be a point where you can never go south of the border.
I'm from Canada. I don't know what this is. What's a lawsuit?
We're talking about bacon. Backy Bacon Sunday, man. It has nothing to do with backflips.
Yeah. It's cool to inspire people, but I also don't want to hurt people.
Yeah, other than yourself.
Other than myself. Well, myself, it's my choice. And I don't like purposely go, I'm going to get hurt myself here. I mean, most times I know I'm going to be sore, even if I land it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's funny. Sometimes you crash, and the crash would feel better than stomping it, for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
I did that like 4 days ago. I did a backy over, rotated a bit. And it didn't hurt that bad. And then I went back up and did it again and stomped it. Stomping it hurt so bad.
Just as your body's just going.
Because it was just like a pretty flat landing. It wasn't even that big.
Do you think you're
like
shorter now than when you started like becoming a pro skier? Just from all the compressions?
For sure. Compression's so bad. I just don't want to know 50-year-old Stan.
Do you think?
I'm trying to slow down now and then maybe.
So do you think you'll be
right.
like so? And the thing is, like you ski with Douglas and you hang out with Douglas all the time. He threw D spin on his 52nd. He's 52.
Yeah,
53.
The guy's unreal. I don't know.
So he's got 20
he's
years.
Also light.
He's got 20 years on you, Stan,
But
and
then,
you're complaining like this, and he's going out doing.
He's
that
not
stuff.
sending flat landings right now, though.
Because he's not dumb.
You know who is though? Is P.Y. LeBlanc, and that guy is. Did you see his little edit he put out like a month ago? It was insane.
P.Y. is an insane skier.
He's 47 years old and he's hucking like 40 footers, 50 footers.
P.Y. is probably the most underrated, or like least attention. Like he's a skier that has the least attention for the ratio to how amazing a skier is to the attention he has. Is like so out of whack.
Yeah, I agree.
PY is a nutter.
Yeah.
Him and Hugo, man, those two just. Oof.
Hugo.
I'm gonna get them on the show.
Hugo's a savage.
I'm gonna get PY and Hugo maybe on the same show.
Hugo made what I'm doing not cool anymore. Backslapping.
Oh, because
I try not to backslap.
Because he never did.
No, he made backslapping like if you backslap, like that wasn't cool.
That wasn't good. Yeah, it was like straight to bolts every single time.
Unless you're hucking like an 80-footer and you're doing something and it's like.
And he would still land on his feet.
Oh, he would, yeah. No. But I'm talking if it was like I don't know, like Sean Pettit did like 80-foot threes that no human could ever land, and he'd backslap him and ski out of him. You're like, how did you even backslap and ski out of that? Like I would have been like.
He's skiing again. It looks like he's skiing again. Either that or he's just putting out ugly skis. What do you think?
He's skiing.
He's skiing again?
Yeah.
That's good. We need him back in skiing, I think. He got tired of it for a while.
I don't know if he'll go back to what he was doing.
No.
I think he's... I mean, I don't know.
What do you think
You
of
can ask him, but I think he was tired of being injured. And hurt. I mean, he was sending, like... There's sending and then there's sending.
Yeah. He was on another... He was on another level.
For sure.
If he continued the way he was going and stayed strict skiing...
Yeah.
And like actually was invested in it, like I think he just got bored of it. He would be like on Candy's level.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
He's that good. He is that good.
Oh, he is that good, yeah.
Absolutely. Sure. What do you think of those skis that he put out? The throwbacks, the ugly ass. I think they're ugly as shit.
I don't know if I saw them.
They're remember? I don't remember what they're called originally, but they were like
like white.
No, they were like red with like
white
black diamonds and the yellow little trim and shit. I don't know. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head right now, but
they're just going back to like old school graphics.
It's the exact same graphic, and like I know he's a big fan of like retro stuff, but those are. I saw them. I'm like, no, what are you doing? I thought they're ugly as shit, to be honest. In my opinion. Anyways, you don't know what I'm talking about, but you'll see them and be like, I'll show them to you after.
I think some old graphics are sick. Like,
some are great.
Like right now,
not those ones.
We were talking with Solomon, and they made like some protos with top sheet of the 1080s.
Yeah,
and
are those the ones? What's his face? I was on
Nico.
Them. Yeah,
he was getting like 100 DMs.
People are losing their mind,
and like then we like a bunch of people saw him, and we were talking to TJ Schiller's like, dude, if they put him out, I'd buy a pair today just because for the novelty of that ski.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't going to be the same 1080. It's a different ski, but you put that top sheet on it just because of the top sheet.
Even the Pocket Rocket, man, that would sell like crazy too. Pocket Rocket,
even though like looking back on that Pocket Rocket, it definitely like it was
like the first big mountain charger
ski. But then like the Squad came out, and that was my progression. I went from the Pocket Rocket to the Squad, and the Pocket Rocket was like pretty soft foam core, and the Squad was like a 2x4.
It was the stiffest
and
directional ski of all time.
I couldn't land anything. I couldn't like. You had to be like a strong skier, and I was like.
It made me a better skier. Squads made me
sure.
The first day I had my Squad, I was like ripping. I don't know. I don't remember what the run is. It's that kind of side hill. You know when you're like. The groomer that cuts back underneath the red chair, bear paw or something like that. And before bear paw, there's that little side hit, and there's that little diving board, right before the road. So I remember hitting the diving board and landing, and then like preloading my ski to get my edge in, to go and like turn. And I was on like Vocal Gatamas, like same thing, like right before these super like really really soft, and I put the muscle memory pressure in, thinking there's those soft skis, and it was as if I hit the diving board, full diving board onto the run on my back, starfish spinning across, then almost off the other side.
I had the same thing. Like I was pretty used to landing like I'm probably 15 at the time, still ski racing, but I've got a pair of Pocket Rockets because Scott Jewett put me on the grassroots free skiing team, which was sweet. He was awesome. He was my Solomon rep when I raced. And I went from that ski, and I was pretty used to landing like, I don't know, a little back seat because they were so soft. And I went the first like 10 cliffs I hit when I got the Squads, I was landing a little back seat and just getting spanked, like backslap, tomahawk. I couldn't figure it out.
Shin bang.
And then like literally you had to land like, I want to say like center, if not like forward.
On your boots,
Or else you were just, the skis were going to take you for a ride. You weren't riding the skis were riding you.
Oh, absolutely. The burliest ski I've ever skied.
Oh, yeah.
They taught me how to be a better skier.
I mean, it was like a fat Super G ski.
Yeah.
You weren't, that thing had a turning radius of like probably
34 meters.
34 meters, yeah, it was insane.
Bring it back. I broke mine Gaber Day 2 years ago when I aired into the
I
boulders.
don't know what I did with mine. I must have. I probably gave them back to Ned, realistically.
They saved my life. Squads.
Squads.
That's a story for another day. But
Yeah.
like Gaber Day, I was in Bali for a month, didn't know what the mountain was doing. Long story short, I aired onto a boulder field in the air. I was like, I saw this. I came off the lip and looked down and went, oh, I'm going to break both my legs. That's the only thought that went through my head. And then tucked up and tried to like stomp. And then ski snapped off. I came and bounced off the rock and like literally, I've got like 6 lives left. That was definitely one of them. And I picked up my skis and they blew apart. The squads like fully blew apart. And I thought they were like full wood core. They're like this hard ass foam.
I've never.
I hope you never do.
Never blown a ski.
Really?
Broken a ski. I have. I had Dinosaur 4x4s and I aired like 15 feet, blind jump. I didn't even know where it went and landed in a ditch and they broke. That was the one, and I was super young. That it didn't really matter. It didn't hurt.
Well,
or it probably did for like 2 minutes and then I was fine the next day.
Sweet, man. Well, it's been a while. We've been going. We've been
We
going.
rambled on about this,
man.
about that. It was great.
That's the point, right? Hope you guys enjoyed that one with Stan Ray. What else you got to say for anybody? Anything that they should be looking forward to? Oh, we didn't even talk about your YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, my YouTube channel. Should I talk about my YouTube channel?
There's not much to talk about, so just do a quick summary.
Yeah, tips from the pros.
We got like a few minutes, I think.
All right, tips from the pros. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna commit to it. I'm gonna actually do some more episodes because I've been.
Because you're good at it.
I've been slacking last month, and I think it's a great way to stay in the community and also give back to the ski community without having to huck off things and hurt myself.
Absolutely, and you're good at it, man. You won those like GoPro contests. You always come up with some kind of fun idea.
I think it's.
You're creative that way.
I like to try to be funny. Too much serious stuff happening in the ski industry. That I think funny's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you don't follow yet, go follow Stan Ray on my YouTube channel. And then maybe I'll teach you some things, or maybe you'll get a laugh, or maybe you'll think it's stupid. And
I have an idea for
who
a collaboration project. We'll talk to that when we turn the mics
Low
off.
Pressure Podcast YouTube channel.
It's happening, actually. For those of you that are listening, all of the episodes that we've done this year, and a lot of them from season 7, we have filmed. Awesome. It's just a matter of getting them edited and paying for that to happen. So I'm being straight up. We've got them all, and I think maybe next week we might be able to release our first batch of them. So stay tuned for that, as we've got some extra fun stuff coming for you.
Yeah, I'm filming and editing all my own, and it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not fun. That's why it's not out yet.
Yeah, for sure, not fun.
Things take longer than they expect.
That's why I lost a little motivation, I think. I was
Really?
like, oh man, I'm bad at editing.
You're like, I've just been skiing for a living for so long. Like, I actually got to do some work. Jeez.
3 days to edit like a 5-minute video. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Time and money. But anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for coming on, Stan.
Cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
Hey, you've done your beer because
yeah, it's done.
You actually drank it.
Yeah, I did.
I drank mine pretty good.
It's all right. I won't hold that over your head. Stan Ray is not a lightweight. See you later, everybody.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Low Pressure Podcast, the podcast for skiers. This has been a Redmark Media production.